Hello, so let's do Module 5, Lesson 13, which is like 12, only we are going past 1 on this. So the first thing to remember on these is that we're starting with 1 and ending with 2 instead of starting with 0. So for thirds, 3/3 is right here, right? And later they want 6, so 6/6 and 12/12, that's where we start with 1. So for 3/3, I marked in my thirds. So here's 4/3, which we could also call 1 and 1/3. And this would be 5/3, and of course 6/3 is 2, right? So there's 4/3, and there's 4/3. Now for sixths, because we want 11/6, so sixths are half as big as thirds. So between all the thirds, we have sixth. So I'm going to do right in between the 3/3 and the 4/3. So 6/6, this would be 7/6. Of course, 8/6. And the half, 9/6, or 1 3/6, same as a half. Here's 10/6. Go halfway between again, and 11/6. So there's 11/6 for you. And then 12ths. 12ths are half as big as sixths. So in between all the sixths, I'm putting my 12ths. So 12/12 is right here. This would be 13/12, 14/12, 15/12, 16/12, 17/12. Oh, 17/12. That's what we're wanting. 17/12 would be right there. So I kind of prepped this a little bit to know where these things were. If any of this doesn't make sense, pause it and think about this for a minute. Make sure that you understand why I put the marks where I put them and why 17/12 is there. And you might want to think about, also, you might want to take a minute and think, well, if this is 7/6, it's also 1 and 1/6. So maybe think about the mixed numbers that go with these improper fractions. Okay, so moving on to 2, we need to compare 1 and 5/6. Did we find 1 and 5/6? 1 and 5/6. Oh, guess what? 1 and 5/6 is the same as 11/6, right? Is it the same as 11/6? Let's figure that out. So there's 1. So this is 1 and 1/6, 1 and 2/6, 1 and 2/6, 1 and 3/6, 1 and 4/6, 1 and 5/6. Yep, it is. So this is also 1 and 5/6. And we want 1 and 5/12. So here's 1 down here. 12/12 is 1, so this is 1 and 1/12. 1 and 2/12, 1 and 3/12, 1 and 4/12, 1 and 5/12. That 17/12 was 1 and 5/12. They are equivalent. Okay, now that we see that, we can see that 1 and 5/12 is way less than 1 and 5/6. And perhaps you already knew that because you knew that sixths are bigger than 12ths, and we had 5 of each. Okay, so 1 and 1/3. Remember, 3/3 is 1, so 4/3 is also 1 and 1/3. And then 1 and 5/12, we just found 1 and 5/12. 1 and 5/12 is right here, and it is just a little bit farther along the number line, so just a little bit bigger. Okay. Number 3, I had to paste in a number line because it got even more complicated. So down here on the bottom, we've got some 8ths and we've got 12ths. And again, we're starting with 1, and they ask about 8ths, 4ths, and 12ths. So 4/4 is number 1, or is 1, 8/8, and 12/12, and then we're counting up from there. So my blue ones are the 8ths, 8/8, 9/8, 10/8. My red mark here are the 4ths, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4. And of course we could also call this 1 1/4 instead of 5/4. So we need to find 11/8. So here's 8/8, 9/8, 10/8. The next eighth is right here. So that would have to be 11/8. So there's my 11/8. And then we want 7/4. So let's see, here is 6/4. So my next fourth would be 2 of the eighths, right? So there is 7/4. Of course, 8/4 would be here. That's the same as 2. So now we have found 7/4. And finally, 15/12. So here's my 12ths in the green. And I did have to paste in the 12ths to figure out where those go. So I knew that 1/12 more was right there. So 12/12 is 1, 13/12, 14/12, 15/12, 15/12. That's what we're looking for. 15/12 ends up being right there. And of course, you could also call that 1 3/12. Okay, number 4. Ask us to use that same number line, so I pasted it in again. Determine on the number line from problem 3, that's above, whether 11/8 or 12/15 is more. So here was 11/8 and here was 12/15, and we can see that 11/8 is more. 11/8 is greater than 15/12. And now here we are on number 5, back to the benchmarks. And here's where we're thinking, is it closer to 0, closer to a half, more or less than a half, or closer to 1? So 3 is a little less than half of 8, and 7 is a little more than half of 12. So I know that 7/12 is more. 7/8 is almost 1, and 5/12 is a little less than half. And I am not going to take the time in the video to write these, but the things that I'm saying is the kind of sentence that you would write. And honestly, for this, you just need to make sure that you understand what's happening. 8/6, 8 is more than 6, so this is more than 1. And 11/12 is almost 1. So more than 1 and almost 1. 5/12 is almost a half, 1/3 is less than a half. This is only 1/12 away from being a half. So we'll say this is greater. On this one, we could also make 1/3 into 12ths to double check that we are right. Oops, 1/3. We times this by 4/4. We would find that 1/3 is equal to 4/12, so it's just a 12th less than 5/12. Okay, 7/5, that is more than 1, because 5/5 would be 1. This is also more than 1. So this is 2/5 more than 1, and this is 1/10 more than 1. We know fifths are bigger than tenths, and we've got 2 of them. So this one's got to be bigger. 5/4 more than 1, because 4/4 is 1. 7/8 almost 1. So 5/4 is greater. 13/12 is greater than 1. 9/10 is less than 1. 6/8 is almost 1. 5/4 is more than 1. 8/12 is kind of right between a half and a whole, but 8/4, that's 2, so that's got to be way more. And here we've got 7/5 and 16/10. They're both more than 1. This is another one where I'm going to just take that 7/5 and multiply to give an equivalent fraction so that I can just compare tenths. That is 14/10, and I can see that 14/10 is less than 16/10. Okay, there you have it, less than 13.